Welcome to Start PT Now podcast to let you know what's going on in your world and my world. Your guy, my guy, right guy.
We're joined again by Function with Franco Ortuno, personal trainer from Aspen Hill Club. A pleasure as always, Franco. We've had a lot of segments over these last couple weeks, and each time we're learning something new. Excited to learn something new today.
I'm excited to be here today. I'm excited to see what I can teach you today. Maybe you guys can teach me something too today.
We're definitely going to teach you
Always.
something. One of us over here has something called experience in life, so naturally I'm smarter through life, but you're smarter in the brain. So let's pick that brain of yours. And last time you were here, we were touching on a few subjects. And right guy, where are we taking them?
Yeah, last time we've been looking to get more into the nutrition topic. Last week we got a lot into the core, touched on nutrition a little bit, functional movement. All of that was a key point of the last episode. And this time around, I really wanted to dial into that nutrition. If we were talking core before, the nutrition's really at the core of that core, right? You know, those six-pack abs can't shine through if the nutrition isn't there, right?
They say abs are made in the kitchen, right?
We keep hearing that.
Yeah, it's a common thread.
Common theme.
It's because it's true, right?
Yeah,
if you hear something enough, it's because there's a lot of truth to it. And so I think just starting off, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the most common nutrition mistakes you see clients making that are hindering their fitness progress with you?
Number one, I would say snacking.
And
it's just all about the choices that you make on the snacking at the times also. Nothing wrong with, having, let's say, 2-3 snacks throughout the day, but make them as healthy as you can, whether it's something like some Greek yogurt or something like a pack of fruits or maybe just some honey, things like that. We want to stay away from the chips, all the processed foods. We always talk about it, how that is just very, very, very detrimental on your health and on, you getting that six-pack ultimately.
A big thing that comes up, especially if you're training hard, is making sure you have the right energy level, whether that's, for getting into the gym or for recovery after. And so I wanted to ask you, for clients who are training hard but maybe struggling with that energy level or recovery, what are some of the first nutritional changes you would suggest as far as boosting those levels?
For me, what I like to do is, let's say I'm going to go work out, right? Right before the workout, I like to do a little pre-workout meal. And for me, what I'm going to look as, I want to get something that's pretty carbohydrate dense because I need to basically put in all that energy into my body because I'm going to be expanding a lot of energy. Okay. So it's important that, I'm matching those levels. So I'm a fan of fruits. I love eating fruits. Whether it's maybe cutting up some fruits and putting it, like cutting up a banana, putting it on a piece of toast with peanut butter. It can either be also maybe eating some Greek yogurt like I've told you. You'll see a lot of what I'm telling you is a lot of things that I've already mentioned before. And I hate to sound redundant, but for me, this is what I've done. It's what's worked for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It sounds more, it's not redundant. It's more discipline into a lifestyle that will lead you to achieve the results you want to. Now, we're talking about fruits to start. What would be a good post food after a workout?
Something protein dense. Protein dense, but we still want some sort of carbs. So don't stray away from the carbs. Let's say if you're looking at your meal, right? We want a lot of protein because after a workout, that's when that protein synthesis begins, right? So it's important that we're putting in more protein into the body to aid that process of protein synthesis. And of course, like I mentioned, we just expanded a lot of energy. So that means a lot of energy left the body. So we want to put some of that back into the body through the form of carbohydrates. Honestly, I kind of stay away from the fats, but it's not a bad thing because, our fats is an energy source too. Your body utilizes fat as an energy source. So you want to be making sure you're taking some sort of fat into your body. That could be in the form of like something like an avocado, maybe the fats from your meat that you're eating from your protein. But I'm a big fan of avocado, so you will find me eating that a lot.
And I'm curious too, because we're talking about like getting all the proper nutrition, and there's the whole food pyramid. There's so many different things that you're expected to get, and honestly, a lot of conflicting theories over the years of like what you really need each day. There was this thought of like, oh, dairy is a part of the food pyramid. You need dairy every day, and people are thinking maybe not so much now. So there's all these different conflicting ideas, and I think it gets even more complicated when you start talking about supplements. Because I personally don't take really any supplements right now, but I've always been curious about it.
And it's like every month there's a new supplement that you should be taking. So
from that perspective, like, what is your take on supplements? Are there any that you take consistently or that you think are essential maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking supplements. I think it's great. like I said, for me, really, the one supplement I'm taking on a daily basis is creatine.
What's the benefit of creatine?
Oh, there's
for
so
those
many benefits,
who don't know.
Whether it's muscular endurance, whether it's muscle mass, whether it's cognition, we're talking memory, we're talking focus. So
All right,
many
what's
things.
the downside of creatine?
Not really downsides that I've experienced. I know people talk about hair loss as one of them,
Okay.
but that's nothing I really had an issue with.
Oh, that's a big one.
It's a pretty big one.
Yes.
Pretty big one. We want to have nice, luscious hair.
But I think the urban myth behind creatine too, it's like you start taking this and all of a sudden you're gonna build like 30 pounds of muscle.
No, you have to be taking it on a daily basis for at least a month.
Yeah.
You do that too?
I don't do it, but I've actually been looking to get into it. My dad does it. He just recently got into it, and he's been putting on some size.
Yeah.
He told me one of the big drawbacks initially is it pulls all the water into your muscles, right? So you're going to notice like a big uptick in weight. You know,
a lot of water retention.
a lot of water retention up top. But he said one of the things that really convinced him to get into it was the cognition part that you mentioned. Because, as it's pulling water into the muscles, it almost has a similar effect with the brain and your cognition. You feel sharper. And I think there's this interesting kind of like what Leo was saying, almost conflation with creatine and like steroids or something like that. Like it's going to make you huge and muscular, and there's going to be these negative side effects. But it's been interesting to see the more research that comes out about creatine, the more that it's actually has so many wider benefits than even just putting on size.
And the thing about it too is the reason creatine is so effective is because not only do you have to take it as a supplement, you can find creatine in foods like meats, like we talked about. Your body produces creatine as well. It's a necessary compound that your body needs in order to really contract those muscles. And
so let me ask you professional opinion, and we're joined again with Franco, Function with Franco, right guy who put up all the links right about now. And please reach out to him. He's got great information, amazing trainer. You can find him at Aspen Hill Club in Aspen Hill, Maryland. Now we're talking about creatine, and you just said something for a guy like me puts a red flag. Water retention. Is that something I should be doing then, taking creatine, if I'm trying to be slim down or be more toned? Or can I still take creatine, or I have to measure how much I take of it to control water retention? Because I'm not trying to bloat up. I'm trying to trim down.
Yeah, and actually you mentioned bloating, and there's different forms of creatine. We have creatine monohydrate, we have creatine HMB, we have creatine cryoalkaline creatine, which is what I was taking for that purpose of bloating, because it helps you. I was taking it as a powder form, and a lot of times when I first started consuming creatine, I started noticing I get very bloated, and I started thinking, okay, can I still take this without all the bloating? And I found, yes, the cryoalkaline creatine helps you with that. Now, when we talk about, again, bloating and the water retention and all that, we want to find a way. It's very important that we're also consuming a lot of water when we're taking creatine, because we talk about water retention. You have to have some water in your body, because then you're kind of just putting creatine. If you're always dehydrated, that's going to be a very, very bad mix of consuming creatine, but being
so you got to make a
dehydrated.
commitment once you start the program.
You have to make a commitment. You have to make sure that you're constantly hydrated, that you're always consuming more water than any other liquid. Doesn't mean you can't consume other stuff, but make sure water is that priority. Now, talking about that water retention and the bloatingness and keeping all that, one thing that for me, what I would do is I like to go in the sauna at the end of my workouts and kind of sweat it all out. So now I'm not sweating out all the all the good stuff like the creatine or anything. It's not like it's leaving my body. No, it's staying there. But now all that sweat, all that water is leaving the body.
Let me ask you then, as someone, if I'm a first-time client with you, I come to you and I say, Franco, I need to lose the love handles. I need to get on an exercise program. Would you then advise me to talk to a nutritionist outside or a dietitian, or is this something through general information we can both create a general meal plan to get started? For sure.
Now for me, I always start off by recommending them to go maybe see a dietitian, physical therapist, whatever it is that they need.
Similar to an injury or something.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean that we can try to craft something on our own, because, maybe they know something that I don't, and I know something that they don't know. So kind of putting our brains together and giving everything that I've accumulated through the years, through expertise, through knowledge, I can definitely put something together on my own. So I can definitely help them. But again, I'll still advise them to go speak to someone.
And it's like you said, there's so many great specialists in there. They specialize for a reason, because they're really good at what they do. And not everyone knows everything about every sort of thing, sort of the same way a physical therapist wouldn't know about personal training and everything that goes into that in the same capacity that, a personal trainer would know about rehabilitation,
Yeah,
right? You know,
exactly.
It goes hand in hand, and I think it's most optimal, especially if you're someone who's trying to optimize your fitness, your nutrition, maybe you're rehabbing from an injury, to utilize all those resources around you and kind of bring it full circle. In that sort of regard, there is a lot of back and forth between people who are on a fitness journey and maybe people who are trying to get back into their fitness. They're working back from an injury, going back and forth, physical therapy and personal training. With those sort of clients, are there any ways that you can help bridge that gap between someone who, let's say, is finishing up physical therapy and maybe like returning to a full workout routine?
So for me, I always like to, start off in baby steps. I'll kind of see where they're at in terms of their progress, in terms of how well they're functioning. I'll have them start off doing something that's not too difficult, but still that's somewhat challenging. Something that's going to tell them like, wow, I did that. I was able to do that. Like, I feel good. Something that's going to make them feel that way, right? Because ultimately that's a big part of adherence to a program, big part of motivation. So as long as I can find certain ways to make their workout make them feel that way, then I know I'm doing my job right. And then, of course, obviously keep progressing them, keep getting them to meet their goals.
And we thank Franco again so much for sharing all this information, joining us today. We're just about at the time here, but I just did want to wrap up with one final question.
Yeah.
A lot of things here, we're talking about water retention. A lot of things are coming back to hydration. I know this is something we've touched on and off. I just wanted to ask you, because for me, I drink a lot of like water bottles through the day. It's kind of like on and off. Maybe, I drink a glass here or there, half a glass. I'm not really like intently thinking about the exact measurements that are coming out, but with it being such an important thing, I think it's something that people should think more about. Exactly, like maybe trying to measure out more how much water you're having. I think a lot of people would be surprised that they're not having enough versus the recommended daily amount. And so I wanted to ask you, how much water do you have as an active person who's sweating a lot, going in the sauna? Is there an amount you're typically shooting for every day?
In terms of amount that I typically shoot for every day, no. It's just more so a matter of, okay, when I drink throughout the day, it's going to be water. That's really it. That's it.
You don't stick by the gallon rule?
I don't stick by the gallon rule.
Okay.
No electrolytes?
Electrolytes in terms of, I was supplementing electrolytes for a while, but it's more so, it's not something that I didn't find it sustainable, honestly.
Okay. Like liquid IV? What sort of like electrolytes were you doing?
Yeah, liquid IV, and then also this brand, Transparent Labs. But I also found that really, we talk about electrolytes, we talk about sustaining hydration and energy levels. And I found that I got that through my diet, like we talked about today. One thing I do want to mention before we go to is after you eat, you should go for a walk.
15-minute walk after you eat, help the
15-minute
digestion.
walk, whatever it is, to help the digestion.
And if you don't know how to do that, adopt a dog, go rescue a dog, go foster a dog. Get a dog, people.
Just get outside, enjoy nature.